As you already heard, my name is Florian. I'm a technical advisor at the FSFE. I'm also a volunteer there. This is my volunteer hat that is invisible. And besides being a volunteer, I'm also a cyborg. So not this kind, but I do have a piece of hardware inside of my body. It's a device kind of like this one, and it runs non-free software. Karen Sandler had a talk this morning about that. She's talked many times before about being a cyborg herself, and we both approached the topic slightly differently. For example, when I first encountered the situation that I had to make a decision about, do I want this device in my body? I didn't have any qualms about running non-free software inside my body. That's not because I don't care about free software. I care very much, in fact, but I figured there was no moral benefit to me possibly sacrificing my life for free software. I was more concerned about, do I need this device at all? But that decision is not part of the talk, so I'll just say I eventually got the device, and I figured, well, it's all non-free software, but it's probably well tested, so I'll be fine. And with the help of some therapy, I got used to having a foreign object in my body and not notice it every day anymore. So what about bugs? I had heard about issues with insulin pumps beforehand, where in fact there were very severe security flaws where through an open Wi-Fi network that was completely unsecured, you could administer insulin shots, which is a huge problem. But I figured certainly a heart device is going to go through more rigorous testing. I had also heard through Karen and others that medical devices are often not tested well on women. And while I think this is really outrageous and should not happen, I figured for my personal situation, it's not going to have an impact. I'll be fine. And so what happened was, eventually I had gotten used to the device. I didn't think about it every day anymore. I didn't constantly feel it as a foreign object inside of me. And then I was in the shower, and all of a sudden, wham! I got shocked. And it took me a while to realize what was going on. I thought maybe lightning had struck or something. But in that moment was the first time I realized how little I actually knew about the device that was supposed to keep me alive. And it changed how I looked at the device. Because I felt trapped and chained in that situation. There's this thing inside of you, and you don't know exactly how it works. You don't know exactly what caused this problem. You have no power to do anything at all. It's a terrifying kind of dependency, and it's a dependency made of software. You just hope it doesn't happen again. And the next day you go and see a doctor, or you go to the emergency room the next day, and there you go to an office, and they have a device like this, or like this, or like this, because of course every manufacturer needs a different device. They're not compatible, there's no standard, nothing there. And what they all have in common, strangely though, is they give even the doctor very little information and very little control. They just see the battery level and the EKG. And in my case, so the EKG, the heartbeat was distorted on the record. And so they said, yeah, this is not a malfunction. The device worked fine. You had a problem, and the device fixed it. And so my job was then to convince the doctor, no, this was a malfunction. I was not supposed to be conscious when this happens. I was not supposed to feel it. I was supposed to pass out, and then it shocks me. So this clearly was a bug. This is a bug. But the doctors have a high degree of trust in those devices, and I understand it. I'm not saying they're all faulty or they all have problems. Well, they all have some problems, but they may not affect every patient. And so because I was very stubborn and insistent, they started what they called a bug-fixing session with a manufacturer. And I thought, great. I'm a technical person. I'm going to get to talk to someone who knows about this. They will be able to answer questions. Awesome. And so I came back a couple of days later, and who did the company send? A salesperson. This person, they did some stuff. It's not that they knew nothing, but they couldn't answer any of my questions. They had no way to change anything on the device, and they had no interest to. They brought the newest version of the device to the doctor to show, oh, this is the new stuff we have. So that's when I realized that running on non-free software in this area is at least as bad as in any other area where we complain about it. There's no reason to say, oh, this is different. And it doesn't matter if you have a defibrillator like I do, or one of those insulin pumps that I had read about. And that's where free software comes in. Because I actually had a fix for my problem. And it's not just me, an arrogant software developer who says like, oh, I know how to fix this. The doctor actually agreed with me. The doctor said, yes, if the device waited a little bit longer until it shocked you, the problem would not occur. And I said, well, then please make it so. And the doctor said, no, the manufacturer does not let me change this. And so I realized if this thing ran free software, it would be a matter of just changing a variable. It would be fairly simple. I mean, of course, you would check it, and maybe you would go to your doctor with your changes, and the doctor would tell you, oh, these are the risks. Do you really want to do this? And then the doctor would sign the code, and it would run on the device. Maybe that could be a process, and I would be fine with that. But that's not how it works. So my next question was, why isn't that how it works? Well, one part is because developing devices like that can be expensive. So oftentimes you have big manufacturers doing that. And another part, though, is regulation. Oh, there's a slide missing here for some reason. I don't know why. I'll stay on that one then. And there's a good reason to have lots of regulation and, oh, sorry, my mistake, sorry. There's a lot of reasons to have regulation and certification on those devices because you want them to be safe. You want someone else to check them. That's a good idea. But then those rules don't prevent bad things from happening, like the blatant security flaws that the insulin pumps had. And there are many different kinds of medical devices, and my issue with a device is certainly not unique in any way. It's not just defibrillators and insulin pumps. It's like cochlear implants, neurostimulators, even ventilators, dialysis machines. They all run code that we cannot even look at and we cannot fix. And even if there were no problems with the devices, the question is, why should someone else be in control of a device inside my body? So when the user is a patient, I think software freedom becomes a matter of bodily autonomy. And I think regulations and certifications don't need to be an obstacle for free software. For example, you see all those systems here. They're active in the medical field. They're all free software. And yes, I know programming a medical device is more complicated than programming a patient record system. So that's different. But it still means it's possible and you can get certified and the certification is not in your way. And especially if the manufacturers who already make those devices were to release the code under free license, they could still sell their devices. In fact, I think free software should be a requirement for certification, so you can check the code. And also, like, I was thinking, I live in Germany and my device is classified as class 3, so that's the highest level. And that means there's an ethical review board that reviews every feature that goes in there and weighs the benefits against the downsides or the potential downsides. And despite all this, they can put a non-updatable Bluetooth stack in those devices. So I think there's really no bigger harm by me modifying my own device. I don't want to modify yours. I want to modify mine. or at least let me read the code. And just to mention another example, there's an artificial pancreas system out there that can run free software. The software is called OpenAPS. I didn't list that here because it's a different category. And there you can run free software on a medical device that directly affects your body. So it may be some effort, maybe a lot of effort, but we can do it. Because if we believe that every patient deserves the right to informed consent, I think we must also believe that the patient deserves the right to have the code made transparent to them. And that's why I want to raise awareness and move something in the right direction. If you have a medical device or you know someone, please ask questions. Ask the manufacturer, bug them about it, bug your doctor about it. It's okay if you're a little bit annoying. They made a lot of money from you, so it's fine. And if we work together and push in the right direction, we can achieve something in this topic. And like the free software community has shown time and time again that if we come together towards a common goal, the sky is really the limit. And with that, I pass on to you for questions.
Well, thanks for your interesting talk. You mentioned the ethical board.
Yes.
Did you reach out to them to talk to them about this issue?
I tried, but that's a bit tricky, and so like I haven't gotten a response yet, but I don't have high hopes that this will change anything because they're already approving stuff that, like, they're experts in their field. Like, I don't think they're incompetent, but they still think a Bluetooth stack is a good idea in a device like that, and I have doubts. But,
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks.
Other question?